Hello, Mark Roy Larson here for the Dreamcaster podcast. Thanks for joining me. My guest today is Lori Saitz from Arlington, Virginia. How are you doing today?
I'm doing well. I'm thrilled to be here, and I can't wait to see what comes out of this conversation.
Me either. I think it's going to be yeah, we'll just see how it goes. So we just met recently the other day. So what do you do?
I am on a mission to teach the world to be calm and grounded no matter what's going on around them.
You have your work cut out for you.
I
So
do, but it's exciting.
it is. What got you to that? What was the epiphany to start going after that?
That's a good question. Well, there was a long and many stories behind how I evolved to getting to this point. So I don't know how
Okay.
far back you want to go, but
You're the guest. You go for as far back as you want to go.
yeah, well, so I started my first business in 2003, and I was making and
Okay.
marketing a product called the Gratitude Cookie that was based on a family recipe, kind of
Cool.
a cross between a butter and a sugar cookie, really, and rolled out really
yum.
thin and crunchy. They're delicious.
Ah,
They are
really good.
delicious. Like, people have asked me if there's crack in them because they're so good, which there isn't, but they are addictive and just the same. And so I started that business, and instead of having the goal of becoming like the next Mrs. Fields, because I have a background in marketing and corporate communications and some broadcast, I was looking at this product as a way for businesses to say thank you to their clients and their referral sources and people who support their success. And so I was talking about gratitude as a differentiating factor for businesses when I was
Okay, yeah.
running this business.
Uh-huh.
Ran it for 11 years, couldn't quite scale it the way I would have liked to, and I ended up shutting it down.
Okay.
Yeah, in 2014, I shut it down. And then I did some more marketing stuff as a consultant. Then I started teaching networking strategies because
Oh, wow.
when I had the baking company, I had to learn how to walk into a room full of people where I didn't know anybody and
Right.
start a conversation and find clients and find people who would be strategic partners and that kind of thing. And that was kind of intimidating to me because
can
I
see
have
that.
you can see on my website, I have this story of when I was a kid. I was really shy. And
Oh, wow. I would never guess that.
I know nobody believes it now. And my mom's not around anymore to support that. But and my dad would probably be like, yeah, I don't remember. I don't know. My dad doesn't remember. But my all my report cards would say, Lori is very bright, but she needs to learn how to speak up in class.
Okay.
And I would get anxious around people that I didn't know. If I was around people that I knew, they couldn't shut me up. But and with
I can relate
strangers.
with that one.
And so having to build this business and walk into those rooms, and how do you do that? And so I
Right.
learned how to do that. And so when I wasn't running that business anymore, I thought, well, let me take this skill that I've learned and turn it around and make a business out of it and help other people who are like me. And I hesitate to call them introverts because there's so much
Okay.
misconceptions around what an introvert
Right.
is. And introverts are
Right,
not
true.
necessarily wallflowers. They don't hate people. They're not
Right.
they're not
Yeah.
solo. Yeah.
Right.
But I call them more quiet people. Like, again,
Okay,
the
I like
people
that.
who would have that feeling of anxiousness and intimidation going into that room. So I started teaching that. I was starting to get traction, and then pandemic, and nobody was going anywhere. So now what am I
Yeah.
going to do?
That changed a lot of things, yes.
Yeah. And so I came back to, somebody asked me to do a virtual presentation on gratitude. And that was around April probably of 2020. Like, everybody was just getting into lockdown thinking we only have 8 weeks
Yeah.
of this. And yeah, so can you talk about gratitude and how that, can help people deal with this?
Exactly. Right.
And that pulled me back into the whole world of talking about gratitude and how, in expanding on that, and how it affects you beyond just business. I mean, it's still a differentiating factor in business for sure.
Sure. Oh, yes.
Yeah. And at the same time, how gratitude affects your, like, everything in your life, and how when you become a more grateful person and what are the tools and techniques to do that, everything in your world changes.
Amen. Yes.
And you become, it is a step, it is a piece to becoming more calm and grounded no matter what's happening. And then I started incorporating in some meditation around that. And again, we come back to myths and misconceptions around what is meditation and why are people not doing it, or why, what are the reasons they don't, and what are the benefits of doing it. And now you roll this all together, and now we've got my program, which is F being fine. I don't know what the rating on your show is. I don't want to offend anyone, but
you can say everything. If there's anything,
cool.
You're
the program's called Fuck Being Fine, because everybody walks around saying everything's fine. How are you doing, Mark? I'm fine. Dumpster fire's happening behind you, but you're like, nothing to see here. It's all fine.
Yeah. And I can relate with that. Like we talked the other day when my wife had cancer. That's what I would say too. I was fine. Anything but I was fine. Yes.
Right. So helping people move beyond that place in life of just being fine.
Okay. So, how did you come up with your program? Like putting the meditation and what type of meditation? How did you kind of put that all together?
Yeah, that was kind of a trial and error thing. I mean, you just like any business, I mean, really, you just need to jump in and start doing it. I talked to so many entrepreneurs who are like, well, here's my idea, but I don't know if I should do A, B, C, D. They got entrepreneurs we're part of the reason the baking company didn't succeed the way I would have liked was because I was distracted all the time by shiny objects. And so
I know that one.
Because that's what we do. We're entrepreneurs. Shiny objects are like, ooh, but what about this idea? What about that idea?
Exactly. Oh, I can relate.
The thing is, you don't know what's going to work until you jump in and start breaking shit, as one of my mentors talks about.
True.
Like, you have to get in and do it and see what works and what doesn't work. And you won't know until you get in. You can theorize all you want.
You can. Yeah, you can. So why do you think people don't jump in? I mean, why do you think we have a fear of failure, I think, so much in this country, maybe worldwide. Why do you think people don't take the next step?
Because they're afraid that they might quote unquote fail. And so now let's define what is the word failure mean to you?
Right.
And is there really any such thing as failure? I don't think there is. For many years, I did believe that. That's part of the reason why I was so apprehensive about doing things, because I am a high achiever and I want to always be accomplishing and productive. And
right.
And the thought of failing was like, I had to do everything right. But when you have to do everything right, you never actually get started because you're afraid that you won't get it right. Well, wait a minute. Maybe I don't know enough. That was a big theme in my life for a long time. Maybe I don't know enough. Let me just take another course. Let me get certified in this other thing. And you never actually jump in and do the thing, which is how you learn what works and what doesn't, is by doing the thing.
It is exactly.
And so I think that's where people are so afraid to, they're afraid to fail, which, let's again redefine failure. It's an outcome that you weren't maybe expecting. Like, scientists have theories and then they prove or disprove the theory, but they don't necessarily say, well, that experiment failed.
Right.
Yeah. And then secondly, I think that they have a lot of voices in their head. Like, not the crazy people voices. I mean,
I know exactly what voice.
Although, lots of entrepreneurs have been called crazy for their ideas or their risk-taking or whatever. That's a different kind of crazy. No, but we have well-meaning family and friends and people around us who are maybe are you sure you want to do this? I don't know. It sounds kind of risky. You're gonna do what? You're gonna mortgage your house for this? What? You're gonna that sounds insane. Like, I don't think that's possible.
Yep. Yeah,
and
I know what you mean there.
Yeah, they're saying it. I think a lot of times they're saying it to protect you, because they want to protect you from what? Failure.
Yep. Yes. Yeah, it's kind of a vicious cycle there.
Yeah.
So yeah, it is. And I know those voices because, well, imposter syndrome. I
Yeah.
didn't think I was ever good enough. And that I suffered from that for a long time. And I still have the fear of failure, but you just gotta do it afraid. And
Right. Right.
so okay, in your program, you teach people how to get over that?
Yeah, well, some of it is that it's getting in touch with. So my program has three. It has what's under the Fuck Being Fine program. It has what's called the trilogy for success, and so
Okay.
that trilogy is one, gratitude, finding gratitude wherever. Like we have been programmed to complain and criticize all the time,
Oh,
and that does
yes.
not help with success at all.
It doesn't. No.
No, because the more you complain and criticize, the more things to complain and criticize about show up in your life. It's
They do.
miraculous how that happens.
It is. Yeah, it is.
But-
What you look, what you're putting out there, you get back. Yes.
Yeah, yeah. So conversely, when you are finding things to be grateful for, more of those things show up in your life.
Yes. Yes.
And
Very
so
true.
that's the first pillar, and there's also some component in there of working through what are your values, and does what are your values? Are you making decisions based on what your values are? Like, does what you say you value match what's in your calendar?
That's interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
Explain that a little more. I don't know if I understand
Like,
exactly.
if I asked you what your top three values are, what would could you come up with what they are?
I'd have to think about that. That's
Yeah.
a good question. That's a very good question because
So
I
don't- not to put you on the spot.
yeah.
But coming up with these values of what it basically is what is most important to you in your life. And just in the short time I've known you, I'm going to guess that family might be one of your important values.
Oh yes, definitely.
Yeah. So
Yes.
now looking at your calendar, how much time do you schedule to be with family? A lot of people say family is a top value for them. And yet they have virtually no time scheduled in their calendar to spend with family. It's all work related.
That is so cool because I'm that way. I don't spend hardly. I love that. Okay, you're making me think here. Yes.
So that's the first section of the program. And then the second section is, so the first part is gratitude. The second pillar is connection. And
Okay.
that is connection with your friends, your family, your community, society. But most importantly, or I should say, and most importantly, it's with yourself. Are you making time?
Really?
Yeah. Are you making time to get quiet enough to hear your own inner voice?
Wow. That's an epiphany for me too. I mean, I don't know if I do that either very, very often. Yeah, I would guess most people would say no to that. So
Yeah.
that is
So-
cool.
So how then, this is why people are so stressed out and overwhelmed and burned out, is because they don't make time to listen to their own inner voice. They're only listening to those outer voices, again, family, friends,
Sure.
but now also add in media and
Oh yeah.
Politicians or whoever. Like, I don't want to, but all of these outside voices telling you what you should do and what you should believe.
Yeah. Very true. Yes.
But the only voice that matters is your inner voice. And whether you call that your intuition or your higher power or whatever name you want to put on it, it's the voice that only you can hear, and it never steers you wrong.
Cool. That is so cool too. I mean, I probably the only time I'm really available to listen is in the middle of the night. Sometimes I have those voices wake, but usually it's very negative. And I've always told my wife, it's just like, I definitely don't listen to most of what that says because it's like, you're going to fail. You're going to,
Yeah.
all that.
That's not your inner voice.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah. The inner voice will never be negative.
Okay.
Those voices you're hearing are other people's voices. And they may have been programmed into you to make you think that that's your voice now. But if you
Okay.
dig back to where those beliefs came from, they did not come from you. They came from somebody somewhere outside of you that you've been programmed so deeply, and most of us have,
Okay.
that those voices sound like they're you because your brain is wired to run those messages.
Oh, yes.
Like, that is not your inner voice. Your inner voice, your soul, is never going to be negative.
I love that. That's something to think about when the next time it wakes me up in the middle of the night, which is almost every morning. So usually around 3 o'clock. So that's actually, I love that.
You want an exercise to put those voices to be
yes, I would
to
love
bed,
that.
if you will. Okay. Here's what I recommend for that. Give them a name.
Okay.
Like whatever that make it it's one voice essentially, right?
Right.
Yeah. So give it a name like Igor, or I don't know. I mean, I don't want to offend anybody who's named Igor, but you choose whatever it is.
Some voice. Okay.
Shrek. I don't know.
I like Shrek. I'm going with Shrek. Yep, there we go. I like that one.
You make up what your own is,
I love that.
And then when it starts talking to you negatively, listen, Shrek, back it up. No, I do not accept that. And when you can give it a third person, a different name, it's not you. It's not you. And you can tell it to back down, back off, go away. Or equally important is to say, hey, you know what? I hear you. I hear you.
Okay.
So acknowledge, because what you resist persists. So if you just keep pushing it away,
it's still going to be
keep coming back.
Right.
Hey, Shrek, I hear you. Thank you for serving me, because it has served a purpose in some way. You can go to the back of the bus now and take a nap.
Awesome. I love that. I'm not looking forward to it, but I got to do that exercise. I will do the exercise.
Let me know how it works.
I will definitely let you know. Okay, so do I hear my soul then? Or is that something you have to practice hearing that?
I do think it does require some practice, because most people are so not used to hearing it. They're used to hearing those mean voices.
Right.
And they're not used to getting quiet. We are so distracted in our world.
Oh, yes.
So distracted.
Very much.
People can't even go to the bathroom without their phone.
Yep, seems like it.
So they're not used to getting quiet enough to hear their own inner voice. And that's where the meditation part that I talk about comes in.
Okay.
In getting quiet enough, and what is meditation really? Because there are so many different forms. It's like saying, I don't like coffee, or I don't like tea. Have you tasted every flavor in the world?
Exactly, yes.
Because you don't know if you like it or not. You just know you don't like what you've tasted so far.
Sure. That's a good analogy too. I like that. Okay.
Yeah. So it's a matter of finding what works for you. And that's what I always work with people on, is what does work for you, and some form of meditation.
Okay.
Whether it's like what people think of as traditional meditation or not. But it really comes down to giving yourself space to hear your own inner voice. Because like I said, that's the only voice that is going to know what's right for you.
True. Very true. So, okay, do you have a set time for the meditation that you're doing with your clients?
Again, it comes what works for you. So for me, and let me say, I learned how to meditate when I was 10 years old. My mom took my brother and me to a meditation course that's now known as the Silva Method.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
You familiar?
Yes. That's so awesome. At 10. Oh.
Yes, at 10. How do you know the Silva Method?
Actually, I've gone to a whole bunch of things out in Vegas, and it was that one of the speakers out there talked about it. So I don't even remember what it was, because I've been doing quite a few of them out there. But because I never heard of that before. And that is so cool. That's where the Mind Valley and everything else that I've learned over the time. So
So Mind Valley is, I guess they licensed the program. I'm not sure what the arrangement is, but Vishen Lakhiani is the founder of Mind Valley. He was introduced to the Silva Method when he was a child as well. Okay. And he has practiced it and gotten so much benefit out of it that after Jose Silva passed away, he went and licensed, I guess, the program. And so now Mind Valley teaches it. Okay. Like, that's where you can go to learn it. And so I learned it when I was 10, but then I didn't practice it for another 30 something years.
Well, I can relate with that. I know how that goes. Yes. You have the best of intentions.
Yes, right. Like I'd practice it for a couple of days and then I'd skip a few years and yeah, it wasn't consistent.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yes.
I have a feeling, I have a very deep feeling that if I had been practicing meditation, the baking company would have been a very different company and with a very different outcome.
Yeah, I bet that's true. So
yeah,
but we all have the best of intentions, especially
exactly
at 10. Especially at 10. I mean, that's you did the whole thing at 10.
Yeah.
Wow, I am impressed. At 10, you did that. That is so cool.
It was a great foundation to grow up with because it was always there, even when I wasn't using it. Like it was somewhere. Again, it's about wiring your brain, and my brain was wired to believe that the body can heal itself, that you can accomplish all of these amazing things with, and at the time it was called the Silva mind control, which, now you look at it and it's like,
not want to do that.
Yeah, it's a little weird, but so it's the Silva method, but it really is about controlling your mind. We all have the ability to control our own minds. We just don't realize it. So many people don't want that responsibility. It's so much easier to follow someone else and listen to what they're telling you to do so you don't have to think.
Yeah. And I do find that the more I've gotten to this, people don't want to think. I would agree with you on that a lot. And I guess I don't see that, but I see it every day. I think that's why a lot of people don't want to help themselves, because it would take that you have to think. Yeah. And I find that a shame on a lot of levels. So.
Absolutely. It's much easier to be a victim. Actually, it's not easier, but the people who are there feel like it is, because it would be too much work to take responsibility for themselves. Yep. And so that's why a lot of people live in the world of drama. So when I talk about what I'm doing now in terms of helping people, and I have a new program coming out, that's actually, I think the sales page will be up by the end of today.
Really?
Called
Cool.
Staying Calm in Chaos.
Oh, wow. Yes. To do that is amazing. I mean, and I don't even know what the word is I'm looking for. I mean, most people don't do that. So Right. So, and the people say they don't want to live in chaos and drama. I'm one of those.
And yet, when it comes down to it, if I gave you the steps to get out of that, a lot of people will say that's too difficult. Either I don't want to take on that responsibility, coming back to what we were saying, or it can't be that simple.
Oh, really?
It doesn't
that's an interesting response.
It can't possibly be that simple. Well, yeah, it is. And it can be, and it is. And so they don't necessarily want, but the thing is that when you step out of drama and chaos, and you've lived in it for so many years, it's unfamiliar and it feels a little weird. And that's why people retreat back, because that's what they know. And that's where they feel like they feel comfortable, even though it's uncomfortable, if that makes sense. And I can understand it, because they know the uncomfortable. They've dealt with that, like you say. They just know that. And it is uncomfortable. And anytime you do change, especially I find, kids in general, I think, are easier to do change than we are. But we have so much conditioning, but as adults, and going back to all that, that's why most people, I believe, don't do the change. That's why most people don't catch their dreams. People would rather live the way they are than, even if they know it's possible. It's like, oh, it's not for me, or I'll do it someday, rather than do the steps, and which is a shame too. I think we talked about that the other day. It's just so much potential there that doesn't get utilized. Right, absolutely. And so that brings up the third pillar, is courage. Because you need the courage to do the things that you're going to hear your inner voice telling you. Mm-hmm. Or, you go through the Staying Calm in Chaos program, and there is a component in there to help you get in touch with your inner voice as well. But you go through it, and even though it's pretty simple, you need the courage. You need the courage to do the things. Like, just do them.
You do. Yeah. Yeah, if you don't, nothing changes if nothing changes. If you don't do it, nothing happens. So,
Right.
And that is, so how do you come up with these programs? I mean, that's such an awesome program you're coming out with now.
I don't know. I just do. Like,
Probably
maybe it's because I am in touch with my inner voice.
Probably, yeah. I would think that would be.
After I closed that business in 2014, the baking company, at the same time I closed that business, my mom was diagnosed with an acute form of leukemia, and she passed away 6 weeks later. So this was a lot to, I'm processing now the death of my business and my mom at the same time.
Right. Wow.
And that's when I came back to meditation.
Oh,
Which
really?
is when a lot of people find their way to meditation, even though, they go about life and they're like, yeah, I know I should be meditating. And they hear that, all the highest performing business leaders, not all, somebody called me out for saying they don't all practice meditation. Okay.
But
a large majority of them do.
Yes.
Okay. Athletes, highest performing athletes, business leaders, they practice meditation for what? Not because they don't have anything better to do.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Yes.
Yeah. And so I think that a lot of these ideas, so I came back to practicing meditation when I was dealing with that, and have been consistent really for most of that time. It's 9 years. And I do a meditation in the morning, every morning before I get out of bed.
Oh, wow. You do it right then. Okay.
Yeah. Because then nothing else is getting in the way.
True.
And it's setting an intention for my day.
I love that. I'm learning so much from you. Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, again, some people, I feel like a lot of people, again, with the phone, you wake up and the first thing you do is grab your phone and start scrolling social media, checking your emails, looking at the news. None of that is good. Like, that is not the best way to start your day, because all of a sudden you're thrown into chaos. I got to do this, and I got to remember to do this, and I got to pick up that.
Right. Yep.
That's not how you want to start your day.
No, you do not. I definitely agree with that.
And there's no reason to start it that way. And even if you work for someone else, they don't know what time you open your eyes. If you don't check your email until
More
20
likely,
minutes later or 30 minutes later, they're not going to know.
No.
And yet you are starting off on such a much better, a better foot, but a better, mind space.
For the whole day, yes.
Yeah.
No, and that's something I find entrepreneurial. I find some people, because they wonder if I grind and everything, which is a word that really sets me off. I'm triggered. And it's just like, but it's just like they just, the second they get up, and I get up early. They pride themselves for getting up early and then doing, immediately they're into that. And sometimes going until late in the evening. And I told them, I said, okay, you're your own boss. You're the one that's supposed to be an example, showing people how it's done. But you're acting like you're working for a boss, or, it's just like, I told them, I said, if somebody was forcing you to do that, you would be thinking it was torture, but you're doing it to yourself.
Right.
And it's just like, why? But, and that's another reason, I think I told you the other day, why I do what I'm doing, with Dreamcatcher and stuff like that, just showing you. Well, we were both kind of on the same page the other day, showing people that you don't have to work 24/7 pretty much. So,
absolutely. And so talking about catching dreams, that's part of why it's so important to get in touch with that inner voice.
Yes.
Because that's where the dreams, that's where the messages about your dreams are coming to you from. I mean, literally in your dreams when you're sleeping, yes, you are getting messages then too.
Okay.
But also when you are getting in touch with that inner voice, that's where I personally, I think we might have talked about this, believe that you are not given an idea for a business or starting anything without the way already being in existence. You might not know what it is, and the how is not our domain. That's the domain of our higher power, universe, God, whatever.
Right.
But the steps and the way will be shown to you, again, when you are clear on what it is you're doing and you have that clear channel to your inner voice.
Yes. And I 100% agree. And I have learned that much when I put the intentions out to the universe. People and resources come to my aid. And it wasn't that many years ago, maybe not even a year ago. I did not realize that. But I had, especially this past year, had so much of that. And it's kind of comforting. It's really comforting, actually.
Yeah.
And it's just like, you don't need to know you don't know the whole path. You just got to do the next step. And I tell people that's the only way you can start, because you're not going to know. And so that is, but like you were saying, that's the only way you can catch a dream too. And I love what you're doing. It's so cool.
Thank you.
So, okay, how do people get a hold of you? Do you do people all over the world with what you do, or?
Yeah, I work with people all over the world. My website is Zen Rabbit. So my company is called Zen Rabbit, like a bunny, Zen,
like
and then
that.
rabbit, like a bunny, zenrabbit.com.
Simple enough. Awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, so do you take a certain amount of people on at a time, or just?
I have done some private client. I've done some private client. I prefer to do small groups, group programs. And I also create customized gratitude meditations. So
That's cool.
Yeah.
So I love that. Okay. So they just approach you and they tell you kind of what, or do you read it back to?
The customized gratitude meditations have a form to fill out that it asks a whole bunch of questions, and then we get on a call and do a face-to-face, a Zoom call, whatever. Sure. And so I can get a little bit more information. And also what I'm doing is kind of picking up some energy so I can decide, because under those meditations, I put a healing frequency music, and the music that I choose typically comes from me getting a feeling of what music is going to work for you. Like, what am I getting that you need in terms of chakras? And it's kind of weird. That sounds a little woo-woo, but the healing frequency music helps get you into that more relaxed place. And then the meditation is about your experiences and what you're manifesting, or what your goals are. And so for the people who say I'm not good at meditating because my mind is always wandering, these help a lot, because now your mind is listening to stuff about you. So now it's like, hey, I'm listening because it's about me.
Exactly. Yeah. It's like, I got to listen to this now. So, okay, for the audience members, I know what chakras are. What are chakras exactly?
They're energy centers in the body. And so they correspond to like the colors of a rainbow. So it starts, so there are 7 chakras that are essentially energy centers that correspond to different parts of the body. So, for example, the heart chakra is, it's in the middle, the heart. That is represented by the color of green. And there are different frequencies of music that correspond to healing those different areas. But heart is not necessarily heart, like just the organs. The solar plexus is right below that, and that's the color yellow. But that's also your what is solar plexus? Let me go to creativity, because I remember that one. The orange, the second chakra is for creativity, and also sexuality, but also creativity in birthing new ideas and things like that. The first chakra is the root chakra, and so when you're not feeling grounded, like that's typically something is off balance with the root chakra. And then you have the throat chakra. That's where it's around communication. And so a lot of times people hold things, they don't say what they really want to say. And that can be out of balance. And yeah.
So
I'm not an expert in chakras, though.
No, that's cool though. Thank you. So when I was, because I kind of was the same way when I was young, when I didn't say anything. So would that have been my throat chakra, maybe? Partly,
possibly. It could be. I mean, there's so many things. Like, I think a lot of times when we have a confidence issue,
Yeah. Yes. That was definitely mine, I think.
And so that's why, yeah, nobody believes that I was a shy kid, because now at this age, I feel like I'm much more comfortable, although there's still rooms I can walk into and feel uncomfortable because I don't know
what you
anybody.
mean there. Yeah.
But we grow into a sense of confidence. And so we use our voice more now that as we get older, I think it's easier.
I think so too. Well, I had somebody the other day, it's like, wow, you really found your voice. It's like, yep, I did. It was all that
Yeah.
time I didn't talk. So,
Yeah.
okay.
But like throat chakra could be like stifled for a very long time. I was married to somebody who's amazing person. The relationship was not serving either one of us, but neither one of us was saying anything. So, it was like I was afraid to say something.
Right.
Until I had to, everything was fine.
Yeah, get to the point. Yeah.
That was fine.
So it was fine. Okay. I love that. That is so great. That's what you use because I'm never going to think of that the same when I hear somebody say that ever again. So that is so cool.
Your branding's on point.
Yeah. Oh, yes, you definitely do. So I see you do public speaking, or you speak, or
I love having a microphone. So did I mention I started college as a broadcast major and then I worked in radio?
No.
I didn't? Okay.
Really? You did do that? Oh, wow.
That must have been another conversation I was having earlier today. Yeah, I started college as a broadcast major, but I changed my major 2 years in, and still in communications, but I didn't go into broadcast. And then a few years right before I started the baking company, I was doing some on-air radio in South Florida.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Which is really fun, but didn't pay well, and the hours were really bad, at least for the shifts I was working. So,
right.
but I love having a microphone, but it's not really to hear myself speak. It's more now, especially to help amplify other people's stories. I love hearing other people's stories and bringing them to the world, which is what I do with my podcast. And being able to share stories with people. I mean, the whole purpose of my podcast was started, one, to help people realize that they're not alone. And two, because they're hearing stories that they can relate to, like, I went through that too, or I'm going through that now. And two, that there's nothing wrong with them. Because so often people are like, I don't want to tell anybody this is what's going on in my house because it's shame, I feel shame around it, or guilt, or whatever it is,
right?
Or at my job or in my life, whatever.
Exactly.
And they feel like they're the only one. So I can't tell anybody because I'm like, it's weird. I'm just weird. But they're not.
And they think they aren't. No, they're not. They're one of many that are all going through the same thing. So
yeah. So being on a stage as well and speaking, like, I just love the exchange of energy with the audience.
That's awesome. So I mean, what speaking? Have you done a TEDx talk, or would you ever think about doing that?
People keep asking me if I've ever done a TEDx talk. I think I always never had a topic that I thought would be worthy of a TEDx talk, but I do think I have one now.
Oh, I definitely think you do.
And I don't get too much down this rabbit hole, but right? Zen Rabbit. It's about the whole idea of the 24/7 hustle and living a sabbatical life. Yeah. And how that works. How a sabbatical life actually works, which does not necessarily require taking a month-long sabbatical like I did, or a year-long sabbatical like some of my podcast guests have. But how do you live a sabbatical life? And in very condensed form, it is allowing yourself to recharge your batteries every single day.
Very important. Yes. And that's something, well, I would guess if you said that to a lot of people, they would say that was crazy. Like, you got to just, which is too bad in society.
Time for that.
Yeah, exactly. That's what they would say. So, and that's one thing. I think my grandparents, they had it right because they took time. They were successful, but they still took time well, my grandparents played a lot of cards, like
Yeah,
they
so did
and with
mine.
friends. Yeah, and
Yeah.
it's just like, they were successful and they still had the time to do that with friends and family.
Yeah.
And but yeah, then you get, well, I don't, it's a different world. I don't have time for that. And so do you have a lot of people come up? I'm sure you do. Say what a sabbatical life is then? I would think you probably do.
Well, after I took my month-long road trip sabbatical last August, this is
Okay.
where I came up with this idea because I was having lunch with a friend in South Florida, and he said, I feel like I already do live this. I feel like I live a sabbatical life. And I went, oh, Evan, that's such a good topic.
Yeah.
Tell me more. And he goes in, and he's a business owner. He owns
Okay.
he owns an art gallery. So
Nice.
he's busy. He's not
Right.
well, actually, you know what? I don't even really like that word busy because I think people can be busy doing a lot of things, but not actually accomplishing anything. So,
Yes, I agree.
Evan has a full life, let's say that.
Okay,
And
there you go.
he works in the mornings, and then he said he takes off about 2:00. He like does all the stuff, and then
Sure.
he takes off and he goes swimming or he hangs out with his wife and he enjoys
That is-
doing whatever he enjoys doing. And then
Sure.
maybe in the evening he might come back for an hour or maybe 2 hours at the most and just like go through some stuff
Kinda.
if
Sure.
he feels like it, but not required. And
Uh-huh.
so every day when he wakes up and goes back into his business, he's fully recharged.
Yes. Yes.
That is living a sabbatical life.
That's an awesome life. Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, you have your work cut out for you. Oh, no.
Yeah.
I mean,
but,
because
but when you were talking about the 24, how people think 24/7 hustle is the way to success. Again,
Yep.
we've been wired since birth to believe that hard work equals success and that you
Yep.
have to work hard all the time to be
Yep.
successful. And again, talking about definitions, I would challenge people to what is your definition of success?
Okay.
And do you really need to work so hard? We have this belief that if it's not hard, difficult, it's not worth doing.
Yeah,
We
really
also have
do.
a belief that I think you and I have share that we were programmed with, that you have to always be productive. So if you're like taking it easy and you're recharging, you're a slacker and
Yep.
you need
Oh,
to
yeah.
get off your butt and be productive. And if you're not accomplishing all the time, you have no value.
Yeah. Oh, yes. I hear that all the time. Yes, we do share that. And then it's like, well, I'll sleep when I die or something like that.
Right. Sleep when I'm
And
dead.
it's
I
just-
used to say that.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's just like, no, I would rather almost be dead if I had to do that all the time, because that's
Right.
not living.
Right.
That is definitely not living.
That's
No.
what comes back to rewiring your brain. And how do you rewire your brain? Well, meditation is one way to help rewire your brain.
Yeah. So do you do any other things to rewire the brain?
Well, so the meditations, I'm not a big fan of affirmations for
Okay.
rewiring the brain, because
Okay.
when you are repeating affirmations at conscious level, 95% of what's running the show is our other than conscious mind. It's
Right.
those deep-seated beliefs and the way
Oh,
your brain
yes.
is wired.
Yes.
Those got in there into your other than conscious mind, and they are your beliefs drive your actions drive your outcomes, and your
Yes.
outcomes then reinforce your beliefs. See, I knew it wasn't going to work, and it
Yeah.
didn't. And
Yeah. Just all the way around again. Yes.
right.
No, that's true.
So affirmations but I do think they have a place, and that is in the immediate calming of your mind.
Okay.
Like
Interesting.
repeating, everything's always working out for me is one of mine. So when things are going haywire, because all this stuff we've been talking about, you are changing yourself. That doesn't mean that chaos is not going to still happen around you,
Oh, that is for sure.
right?
Yes.
We're not changing the outside necessarily.
Yep.
We're changing how you respond to it.
Yes. Very, very much. Yes.
And so repeating, everything's always working out for me. I mean, I had the month of May was rough because there were a lot of things going sideways for me. And at the same time, everything's always working out for me. Like I would just run that tape in my head when I wake up in the middle of the night, run that tape. I am loved. I am safe. Everything always works out for me. I think when you run these kinds of affirmations, it helps calm you down in the moment.
I would agree. Yeah, I definitely would. Yeah, I would definitely. So, and I always, and I do the same thing because everything in my whole life has worked out for me. You know, it may not have seemed like it at the time, but it has. I've been very blessed, and getting back to being grateful, you know, because there's always something to be grateful for no matter what's going on. So,
and that's true for everybody. Things have always worked out for you, whether you think they did or not, they did. And there's always something to be grateful for. Like,
always.
Regardless of how bad it looks, there is still some shred of gratitude somewhere in there. Find it.
There is. No matter what, there is. It might be tough to find, but there is. So Okay, so like 5 years, what do you still want to accomplish with what you're doing? What's 5 years look like from now?
That's a really difficult question to answer, especially because everything's changing so quickly all the time. And I don't know because there's no way 5 years ago I would be able to foresee where I am now.
True.
5 years ago, in fact, 5 years ago, I was still living with my husband. We're coming up on 5 years since I left my marriage, but so much has happened in the past 5 years. I don't even know what the next 5 years could look like. I do know I will most likely still be talking about gratitude and helping people find this way of staying calm in chaos.
So would you like to, I don't know if franchise is the word, have like what you do, have it with other people around like the world and the country doing what you're doing for other people? So you could help, so you could have more people to help? You can help a lot of people just with yourself. But
I hear what you're saying. I don't see that.
Okay.
I see, because like the Staying Calm in Chaos program is a program that can help thousands, millions of people, but it doesn't require me.
Right.
So creating programs that are evergreen, that don't need me to physically be teaching them. And at the same time, coming into organizations and teaching it like in person. Would love that. Give me some stages. I love. We've established who wants to have me come to their conference and talk about staying calm in chaos, or come into their organization and talk with their employees about how they can stay calm no matter what's going on around them.
Yes.
Bring me in to do that. More of that, please. Yeah.
And I could see you. Yeah, I could definitely see. Yes, lots of stages. Because it's needed. Well, pretty much anywhere in the world. It's needed. That's for sure.
My passport is valid.
Is that you're ready to go there? That's so cool. So okay. I see. You definitely your sanctuary's at the gym, and you also like cupcakes.
Yeah.
Any particular cupcake?
Coconut is a good one. Chocolate. Okay. Yeah.
That's good.
Chocolate coconut together. That's a winning combination.
That sounds very, very good. So, and you have, let's see, a book?
I have a chapter in a book. Okay, I have two.
Chapter in a book.
I contributed a chapter in a book that is, the chapter is called Fine is a 4-letter word. The book is called Love Warriors. I always can't recall what the Conscious Expert's Guide to Healing, Joy, and Manifestation.
Okay.
So I have chapter 8 in that book, and that chapter is about my month-long road trip sabbatical with my 19-year-old cat that I just mentioned having taken in August.
That is so awesome. So you just all of a sudden decided you wanted to do that? What got you to the idea to do that all of a sudden there? Maybe it wasn't all of a sudden.
It was there were 3 months previous that I was talking to people who were taking sabbaticals or something similar. And it started out as, wow, that sounds like a cool idea. I can't do that. Then then it got to the point of like, you're the second person to say that. Interesting. And then the third person, I'm like, am I the only freaking person in the world who's not taking a sabbatical right now? How am I going to, what needs to happen for me to take a sabbatical? And I had, Panther was 19 and she had kidney disease. So she required sub-Q fluids twice a week. So she was 19. I was like, what am I going to do with her?
Yeah.
So my animal communicator friend said, she would rather be with you than anywhere else. And I'm like, okay, I guess we're going on a road trip together.
That is so awesome.
It was awesome.
So did Panther, is that what you said, did all right on the road trip?
She was fantastic. I knew she was a good traveler because we had done a couple of other road trips, but not a month long. One was like 2 days and the other one was like 5 or 6 days. So I knew she was a good she was the best cat ever. She was just
that's so
such a good traveler. And she loved it.
Oh, I bet. No, that together time and being in the, kind of exploring. And so how did you decide where you were going from day to day?
Where was Panther welcome? Pretty much what happened.
I see that too. I can understand that.
Yeah, but my ultimate destination was South Florida to visit my dad. So
okay.
Yeah,
yes.
So that's where we ended up down there, and then the west coast of Florida, the Gulf Coast, and for a couple.
I love that area.
It was beautiful. Oh my gosh, I fell in love with it. So yeah.
Yes, I like Florida really well. So South Florida. I mean, I was down in Key West.
Not that far.
Is it that?
Yeah, not that
Miami?
far. Fort Lauderdale,
Okay.
my Fort Lauderdale, Hollywood area. Yeah.
Okay. And then I was in Clearwater in January, and I like that area really well too.
Yeah, so I was a little bit south of Clearwater on this, I'm almost afraid to say where I was because I don't want everybody going there and ruining it.
Right. Yeah, I hear you on that. I found a gem here. Yeah, I can understand that very much.
I was, it was a little bit south of Clearwater, and I had not spent, even though I lived in South Florida for 11 years in West Palm Beach, I had not spent a lot of time on the Gulf Coast, and it's a completely different world, and it's so beautiful.
It is so beautiful. It was the first time I'd ever been on that, and it was hard to come back to Nebraska, especially in January, I can tell you that.
Yeah, I bet.
And they were saying, it's so cold down there, because it was like 60 when we left. It's like, I'm going to where it's 12.
Yeah.
So, no, that's awesome. So, would you write a complete book yourself, you think, in the future?
Maybe.
Maybe? Well, I can understand that.
It's possible. I wrote a book called How to Feel Comfortable, Confident, and Courageous at Networking Events.
Okay.
And it's an ebook from that networking. That is, I revised it and re-released it just a couple months ago. So that's available at zenrabbit.com as well. There's one of the tabs is you click on networking and it'll take you to that
right
book.
there. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's a really good book. I wrote it and then like I said, I had to put it on the shelf for pandemic, and I came back to revise it just several months ago, and I was reading through it and I'm like, damn, this is good. Who wrote this?
I know how that is. It wasn't. It surely could have been me.
Right.
No. Well, and then I find that you get in your space, I don't know, not evolved, but you're in a different space. And it's like, wow, I knew more than I thought I did, or something like that. It's just.
It's amazing. But again, I'm coming back to when you can channel that information, like again, through your inner voice or whatever it is. Like sometimes I did a presentation in September at the Badass Business Summit in Fort Worth, Texas.
Okay.
And it was on making good decisions. And I had a lot of time. I think it was a 75-minute workshop. And I had material presented. I had material created. But I got to a certain point and I was like, oh, I'm running out of what I had already prepared. And I'm like, all right. But also before I go into a presentation, I kind of just take a couple minutes and go, whatever needs to channel through, whatever they need to hear. And I just started not like like weirdly channeling, like now I'm in some kind of hypnotic state and
I
weird
understand what you
voices
mean,
are
though.
coming out.
Yeah.
Not like
Yeah,
that,
yeah.
but I'm just like open to what is it that I need to say.
Yes.
And that's what I did. And so when we talk about being open, an open channel to delivering
Right.
information to people. And afterwards, it's still to this day, just last week I was talking to somebody and they were like, oh my God, that was the best presentation at that summit at all. And I
Right.
still use what you taught us in that. And I've
Oh,
got
wow.
so many testimonials
That's awesome.
from people because when you just allow yourself to, it's not about me, it's about sharing this information that's coming from somewhere outside of me.
Yes. Yeah, you just pray that it'll give you all the resources, and once again, it does come to you. And
Yeah.
plus, I also find that when you're your genuine self, who you really are, it all just comes about.
Yeah.
And I surprise myself.
Right. And I
Sometimes
think
very, very much.
I think that comes with age too. That
I do
again,
too.
you feel more comfortable being who you are because you're more comfortable. You have a better sense of who you are, and so therefore you're more
Yes.
comfortable being that person.
Yes, I would definitely agree on that because it wasn't that many years ago. I was not sure what it was, not even close.
Yeah.
It's all a journey. It's just all a journey.
Absolutely. That's
So,
what I say all the time. Life is an experiment.
It is, and that's a good way to put it because it is. And the best laid plans because I have friends that are in their 20s and they have it so laid out. It's like, yep, I've only worked that way. So
You'll see. You'll
but,
see.
But I was the same way in the 20s. I had all these big plans and yep, they did not go that way. That's
Yeah.
for sure. So Lori, is there anything else you would like to share with the audience today?
We covered so much.
We have.
I think we've exhausted things, and I will just send people back to the website to zenrabbit.com if you would
cool.
like to. I have a download there, a free download called the 5
Awesome.
Easy Ways to Start Living a Sabbatical Life.
Cool. Definitely. That is so cool. So, and we all need that. That's for sure. So, okay. Very good. And the name of your podcast, is
Fine is a 4-letter word.
okay. I want you to
Yeah.
do it since I didn't want to mess that up.
So
that
it's
is
the name of the podcast. It's the name of the book chapter. It works in a lot of different
everything.
ways. Yeah.
Which is cool. Congruent there. So do you do it weekly or how often do
Yeah,
you
the
drop your
podcast is
podcast?
weekly. New episodes released on Thursdays.
Okay, cool. Very cool. So, well, on that, thanks for joining us today.
My honor.
I hope so. Well, thank you. And hope maybe sometime to have you come back on a follow-up podcast.
That would be
Okay,
fun.
that would be so cool. That I would love to have you back and do a little more conversation and talking and having fun.
Yeah.
So this has been a lot of fun. So on that, I'm going to let wrap it up. And thanks again for joining us. And have a good rest of your day. And until next time, take care.